Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a new episode of the Habibis 3 Arab Game Developers Drinking Good Arab Tea. That was one Arab too many.
There was too
One
many
Arab, too many
Arabs.
Arabs. Too many Arabs.
Never too many.
Almost got it. Almost got it.
Almost.
Well,
You pulled an Osama.
well, I mean, this was a good Osama. I put too many words instead of too little words.
Oh no, that's true. That's fair.
I could try again. We can restart the thing. Roll the
I
intro
think-
again. I've
I
missed
think-
the intro.
I think we
I
get
like
the
it.
picture.
Yeah, we got the picture. We got the picture.
There's
Anyway.
Arabs, there's tea,
This
Uh,
too.
right. Well, my name is Rami Ismail. I'll be the host for this episode.
And I'm Fawzi Mesmar.
And I'm Osama Dorius.
And now we properly did the intro.
Yeah, we're missing an Arab though. We have too many. But anyway, it's fine.
Fawzi the Arab Muslim.
Fawzi the Arab. Yeah. It has been a while.
It has.
It has been
I
a
don't
while.
even remember how long it's been.
It's been
I
a
don't
full
know either.
episode since the last episode.
Yeah. Last episode was the previous episode.
It was.
Yeah. This is episode 103. I actually had to go look it up and check.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels like we reached 100 episodes ago.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I met a friend of mine the other day, and he was like, "You guys are kind of funny because every now and then a notification popped up, and it was like, new Habibis episode drops out of nowhere. It's like, oh, what? These guys are still doing it." And then, and then he pops up the episodes and listen to it, and it's like, oh, they're still doing it, and they're spending the first 10 minutes how they're talking about they want to do it, but they can't, but they somehow want to.
It's hard to put these three schedules together, man.
It really
it's
is.
really hard.
It really is. Like, I mean, I don't travel as much as y'all, but I travel more than most people. So just like the math checks out. How are we going to
Yeah.
find one schedule between all our schedules that actually fits?
Yep.
We'll do our best.
Yeah,
We try. Inshallah. Right?
Inshallah.
Inshallah,
we
Habibis.
had that in the contract.
Yeah, from the start.
From the start. We knew it.
I think we were
Exactly.
looking ahead because, I mean, obviously we kind of started this during COVID times anyway.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
like, you know,
We were
there was no
grounded.
travel.
Exactly.
Now
And-
everything is travel again.
Yeah.
That's-
I mean, I
everything's
saw
opening
Fawzi
up.
like a week ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
in
jealous.
Lisbon,
In real life in Lisbon. Yeah.
in the sun.
Yeah.
Nice and sunny.
That was good. That was good.
Have you ever been, Osama?
No,
To
I have
Portugal?
not. It is a bucket list location. I see pictures. It looks amazing.
Yeah, man, it's just great.
It's a good place.
I miss the sun. I should travel again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jokes aside, I'm actually traveling next week.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Where are you
wow.
going?
Where are you going?
I'm going to LA. I'm going to the Game Awards.
The Game
Ah,
Awards.
yeah.
You're going to the Jeff Keighley show.
The Jeff Keighley show.
The
Exactly.
Jeff Keighley show.
What was
That's-
it called? It's not E3.
Key
it
3.
is Key 3.
Yeah, it's Key 3. He's gonna
I
hang
like
out at
that.
E3. Yeah.
That's
It's a fun
clever.
show. It's a long show, you know. Bring some pillows for the chairs because you're going to be sitting for quite a while.
I've never been, so
Right.
it's going to be a good experience. Bucket
Yeah.
list item.
It's fun. I've gone for many years this year. I just really I can't justify it this year. Like bought a house, like lots of things
No.
shifting in life. Like
Makes
You know.
sense, but the honest truth is, I'm a little disappointed because when I said I'm going to LA, I was hoping one of you would say me too,
right.
but that didn't come.
I think
No.
we're both invited, but we were talking about that in Lisbon. We're like,
Yeah.
we're both invited, but just a lot of stuff happening in Europe. It's
Yeah.
just
Of
hard to
course.
justify flying in there for a couple of days, then flying
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Another time, we'll find another time for you.
Oh,
a
yeah,
reunion
yeah.
episode.
Well, I know we're all going to be in Croatia this year, next year. So
Right.
I
That's
know
the
we
plan.
at least have that.
Yeah, wait, when is it? Because it's not even on my schedule.
It's in
Uh,
April.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it's not on my schedule. I can't see
Yeah.
more than 2 months in
We
advance.
we do really have to make the Habibi spins that people can collect.
Oh yeah,
This
Oh,
is this
yeah.
is like a thing. This is really becoming a thing. Like we've gotten many messages and things over the past months, but like the Habibi spins. Every time I meet somebody, they're like, "Yeah, I already met Osama, or I already met Fawzi, so I just need one more Habibi. We need something for that."
You know what? We should get 3 pins that interlock together to form a mega pin.
That is very good. Just like
All right.
every one of us gets like a third, and if you put them all together, you get the Habibis logo.
That's it. That's it.
That's it.
I love
And then
it.
the backside is just each of our faces.
Why was it on the back? I don't want to be on the back.
Because then otherwise you have the three of our faces, but then you can't put other art on it.
We are art.
Yeah, it depends what you want to promote, Rami.
Subhanallah.
The logo or your face. What do you want to promote more?
I have to see my face everywhere I go. Every event, like, it's nice because when Fawzi goes to an event, there's like a 50% chance which token diversity person they put on the keynote slot.
Oh no! Oh no! That's fired.
That doesn't happen that often because, like, I pass as white, so
But you're still Fawzi Mesmod. It'll count.
Yeah.
No,
that's awesome.
It's good though. Like, it's always fun. Like, when Fawzi's at an event though, it's really uncertain for me whether my face makes it onto the website. Most events, I get it. Like, it doesn't really matter who's there. But if Fawzi's there, he just has a better face than me for photos.
Not true.
I love both their faces.
It's the better beard, and he has these good talk poses. When you see Fawzi talk, he's pointing at things, and I'm just always standing there just like making up stuff because I improvise my talks. Fawzi's like,
very photogenic.
Very so photogenic.
Absolutely.
Plus,
why don't we do this podcast every day? I'm loving this.
It's also the perspective on Fawzi is just friendlier because the photographer is as tall as he is on the stage.
Yeah.
Well, for me, they're always shooting the photo from
the photographer is kneeling on their knees.
Oh no! I love it.
The funniest thing is that in this event in Lisbon, I did not know that Rami was at the event. I remember checking the website and he wasn't there. That's why he's making these jokes. So I was like, I guess Rami is not at this event. And when I did my talk, I was doing the intro about the stuff that I do, and part of my intro is the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I was talking during the podcast. During the pandemic, me and these two other Arab game developers, Rami Ismail and Samadorius, we started recording ourselves while we talk about game dev and food, and then the thing took off and we kept on doing it. And we're supposed to be talking about Arab culture and the game dev, but we just end up talking about food for some reason. And we go into heavy debates into which Arab food is better. And since neither of them are here, I'll tell you that the Jordanian kebabs are the best, and none of them can now defend themselves against it.
So imagine this, Osama. I arrive at this event late on the first day because busy schedule. I arrive at the end of the first day, and the first 5 people I walk into go like, "Hey, Rami, hey, good to see you. Yeah, Fawzi was talking smack about Egyptian kebab." And he was what? He's like, yeah, on the stage, literally, first thing he said is Egyptian kebab isn't as good as Jordanian kebab. And I'm
my god,
where is the Ibn al
I love that I don't even have to defend Iraqi kebab because it was already established as the best of the 3. So y'all can live in your
literally the first 5 people I run into. The first 5 people are like, "Oh, hey, Rami, yeah, Fawzi was talking smack about Egyptian kebab." I'm like, what was he doing on that stage?
We're supposed to be talking about game dev, but ended up talking about food for some reason.
Yes,
that's how the
right on brand.
That sounds like a podcast.
Actually, funny note about food. My dad, I have for most of my life believed my dad can't cook.
Oh,
I'll be honest. I've thought for most of my life my dad can't cook because every time I would visit, we would either order food or he would make spaghetti.
Interesting.
Right? The food of champions.
Yeah,
and spaghetti's cooking.
It takes an effort, correct?
Yeah. It takes some effort.
And then 2 or 3 weeks ago, right, he decided to make kosher.
Mm.
And this man makes incredible kosher.
Oh yeah.
So I was just like, wow, Yabba, why didn't you? Why did we eat spaghetti for 35 years?
Yeah.
If you could cook this. And he's like, you could cook the food of my people. And so last time I was there, he made shorbatat.
Oh, I love shorbatat. Yeah, lentil soup.
Lentil soup.
Yes.
Incredible. Wow. I was like, okay, Yabba, khalas, you just cook Egyptian from now on. If I come visit, let's kosheri, shorbatat, make some macaroni bechamel, let's go.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Well,
this turns out.
technically
love macaroni
there's
kushari.
spaghetti on the kushari, so like
I know you're right, but you're
He
his
also
just
years
kept
not.
cooking, basically. Same
Just
meal. He just didn't stop.
exactly
right.
his years of not cooking were
Yeah.
preparing him for this moment.
I will say on the spaghetti, he always puts baked onions as well, just like on the kushari.
Oh,
Like this is
they
Yeah,
like
baked onions are
that's
great.
like the Egyptian twist.
I
Yes.
think
Um,
half of our Italian listeners they're
yeah.
committing seppuku as we speak.
I can see the hand gestures in the background. What do you mean baked onions? Yeah.
Baked onions on a spaghetti. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Daniela, if you're listening, we're sorry.
Our bad. Our bad.
Our bad.
It's not spaghetti. It's Egyptian noodles. Okay. Um, but yeah, no. So food wise, I've been having good food when it comes to Egyptian food because Dad's a real good Egyptian cook. Just
Wow, man.
That's amazing.
tried to cook Western food for too long in his life, and now all the pent up Egyptian culinary qualities are coming out.
So
Great.
next time I'm in the Netherlands, I want to try some kushari then.
Oh, get some Abu Rami's kushari.
Abu Rami, I love
Oh,
that.
I love it.
That's a great name for a restaurant.
For a kushari place.
Matam Abu Rami.
Yeah.
It's
Abu
so
Rami's
perfect.
restaurant.
It's so perfect.
Um.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, that's always what happens with this podcast.
I ate before. I knew this was gonna happen.
Ah,
Yeah.
Cheats.
I have
Cheats.
regrets.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking at my meeting schedule, and after this, I have like 3 meetings back to back. I won't be eating until like 9 p.m.
Oh, wow.
no.
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made indeed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well. How
No,
have you two been? What
I'm
have you two
supposed
been
to
up
be playing Dune after this.
Ooh.
The board game. Have you
Oh.
guys tried that out?
No,
I
not
haven't.
yet.
I've heard of it.
Oh, I recommend it. I
It's
mean,
good.
like you need to find like 4 players because I think that's you know
Right.
when it's at its best.
Yeah.
But it's a really good way to spend an evening.
I just
But is it
looked
like
up.
the
I like the way
old
it looks.
version or the new version?
The new one,
That's more of a deck building game, right?
Dune Imperium. is
Right,
what it's
Imperium.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dune Imperium is the one I'm playing. Yeah, it's cool.
What
I think
kind of game is it?
it's becoming like a tournament kind of game. Like, you know, there's
Oh,
people
nice.
who play tournaments for it and stuff like that.
Nice.
It's resource, you know, like games like Terraforming Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that, but much better.
Yeah, like
Okay.
resource
I
engines. You're
prefer
building
this-
an engine.
Fairly simple review here.
It's so I prefer to Terraforming Mars. So it's a tick-based game. So it's basically resource gathering, and you know, like that's a type of board game in which it has like specific locations, and you occupy that location before your opponent gives you enough yield to build your resources, so that you can make your fleet stronger, so that you can get more resources, basically. So it's that type of board game, tick-based board game. I think it's what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's
it
really
looks
cool, and
great.
it utilizes the IP really well.
The spice must flow.
The spice must flow.
It must flow.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm excited to try it. It feels like it checks every box that I
Right.
look for.
Yeah, if you've never played it, Osama, I think you would knowing your taste in board game, I think you would like it.
Yeah.
As soon as
thank you.
I'm done with the current board game with my board game group, I'll give it a go. We're currently
What's-
playing Time Stories.
Time
Ooh.
stories.
Time
Yeah, I
Stories.
heard of that one, the time travel ones, right?
It's a really clever one. It's basically a D&D kind of game where the game is the dungeon master. So every you have sort of like the board game set, the base game set, which has like all the pawns and like all that stuff, but then the cards that make up the game are in separate boxes. Each of the boxes is its own story, and the cards have the mechanics,
Nice.
but then the dice and all the tokens are just reused and reshuffled. So we did one where we were in a some sort of like asylum where there was like demonic invasions, and we did one where there was like a zombie invasion in the 80s, and we're now in some sort of like alternative history where there's like dragon prophecies. So
Yeah.
it's just like, and every time the mechanics play kind of differently, the things you need to solve play kind of differently, the puzzles play differently, but it feels like it's well built for different approaches to the same problem. So it's been good, but
Yeah, that sounds cool.
we have 3 or 4 more to go, and usually beating a story takes 2 or 3 attempts. So um, we're now like 3 stories in or something. It's been a good
Wow.
time.
I like the design. The pieces look very slick.
Yeah,
Yep, yeah, it's
You know,
really well done.
you
I
know,
like
like
the
other my,
concept.
my than my board game group, I have a D&D group. Every time
Right.
I'm in Stockholm, we schedule a session. So I fly back to the city the next day. So tomorrow is my D&D night, but we're not playing D&D. We're playing a Swedish system called Eon,
Oh, okay.
EON.
Oh,
Never heard of it.
And like the DM was kind enough, he translated the character sheet for me. And you know,
Aw,
huh.
like this is like I think it's like the 21st century way of playing these kinds of games, because the rule book is only in Swedish. It's never been translated, and
right.
my Swedish is
Interesting.
terrible. So and all the people I'm playing with are Swedish, so they have no problem like going through the rule book and finding stuff. I use ChatGPT.
Oh,
Ah,
So I just like, if I need anything from the game world, I just ask ChatGPT questions, and ChatGPT just tells me what to do. I run it by the DM, and it's eighty
just in
five
case.
percent accurate
right.
for the
Oh,
most part, and I have a
that's better than I
translated
expected.
character sheet, and it's pretty good.
Oh,
What I like about the system is that it's D6 based,
Hmm.
okay.
and every time you roll a six, you replace your D6 with two other D6s.
Huh.
Huh.
So there's a snowball chance. Like if you're really lucky,
Yeah.
you could like stab a dragon with a dagger and kill him with one hit.
One
You know what
stab.
I mean?
Yeah.
Does the
If you
opposite happen? If you roll a one, you have to remove another die?
no,
You get to roll
the
0 die.
doesn't. But it's a brutal system, so characters die a lot. So
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right. I can imagine.
like unlike D&D, like it takes a lot to kill somebody, and there's many ways to bring somebody back. And this like the Swedish system is very hardcore.
That sounds pretty Swedish, honestly.
Yeah.
That sounds
So
like walking up a hill in Sweden in winter. Like,
I mean, like especially right now, I see
yeah,
the snow falling down.
yeah. Many people
Um,
never make it to the top of the hill.
Oh, no.
it's kind of
Speaking
like that.
speaking of board games, I have an update on mine.
Oh
So
yes.
What a
so
segue!
So wait, let's because Osama got the segue, but for the people who have not been like tuning in before or who have no context for this, Osama,
yes,
you're making a game.
I am making a board game. And the short version of it is, initially when I had my burnout, this was like a project to get back into game design. And eventually it actually became good as I was healing and doing better. And I started playtesting with people, and they're like, hey, we actually like this. And now I've been doing playtest after playtest after playtest, and the rules are done. Like, we're not changing. We have not changed the rules within the last few playtests. It's finished. It feels really good. There's another playtest coming at the end of this week for balancing, because you could balance forever until you ship. The art is mostly done. Like, I have 28 pieces arted out of the 50 that I need to have arted. So I say mostly, but I'm at more than halfway done. So the art has to catch up. I'll playtest casually as is, and I'm going to launch a board game. This is actually a finished, polished thing. I can't wait
Wow.
to show
Amazing.
y'all the art. It is gorgeous. The game plays very differently than anything else. It's a amicable arena combat game. It's called Nine to Fight, and it's about real world people, like, who just have regular jobs. So after their work, they fight to see who's the best amateur fighter, because why not?
Uh,
And it's like the florist, the pharmacist, the firefighter just getting together, and they have a friendly fight.
nice. I
Wow,
think
man.
there's countries in which that's actually legal.
I hope not.
No, it is.
It only works when it's cartoon violence. If it's real, oh no, don't do that.
Right. No, I remember reading something about this because I don't remember why. It might have been somebody pitched like a video game to me about that concept, not with the pharmacist or anything, but like there's apparently places in the world where it's legal to like challenge each other to a duel.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can't
Oh,
like
This
you
got real.
obviously you can't murder each other, but you can injure each other, and as long as you've agreed to it beforehand, that's legal. I
Okay.
was like, that sounds pretty wild.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Thank you.
In case you needed some background for your story. You can just
Duel in
put it
what way?
in.
Is it like swords, or is it like the when you like take off your glove and you smack someone
Yeah, you
with
slap each other with the glove. I don't know. I've never really looked into it further. It's just this weird tidbit that came up as Osama was describing it. It was like,
I
I
mean,
think this is legal.
it?
technically, isn't it legal everywhere because there are professional sports that are combat for, like
Yeah.
boxing and UFC, and the slapping one that I find incredibly silly and dangerous, more dangerous than the others
Oh
for
yeah,
some
yeah.
reason.
I've seen the silly one, the
Yeah,
slapping one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Because like the
That's
other
also
ones, they kind of like, hey, you can finish a fight and not get hit at all, and that's the
right.
intention. This one, you're getting smacked in the
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Brain damage incoming, one way or the other. That one seems more violent to me than the other ones. Like,
Right.
am I wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of
Uh,
wrong. I
no,
don't know.
no. I think you're kind of right, but at the same time, the slapping one seems less painful than the like MMA get kicked in the face one.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know. One of them is
Yeah.
at least you're not trying to get hit.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. I'm gonna sign up for neither. Osama, is there a game developer card in your deck?
Yeah, actually, how did you know? Did I tell you?
No.
The card is called Osama the Game Designer.
This is the most like self-insert I've ever heard in
It's
anything.
a you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
it's
hold
great.
hold my non-alcoholic beer. I got.
Yeah.
I
uh,
actually watched a talk by a GDC talk by Bennett Foddy and I forget
yep.
who else, and they were
S-
advocating
wasn't it
for.
Zach Gage?
Yeah, Zach Gage. It
Yeah,
was. Wow,
yeah,
that's the talk. And they
yeah.
were advocating for putting your names,
Right,
yourselves, like personal things in your games, and had a really good argument for why. And I'm
right.
like, yeah, you know what? So I have a card for me, and a card for my wife, and a card for each of my kids as playable
Aw.
characters. Yeah. So my family's in the game. Yeah, you know what? I can adopt you if you want to be another kid, and then you'll be in the game as
I mean,
well.
Wait,
Fauci,
so
Fauci's
you're
small
telling
enough
me
to
I'll
be
be in the
adopted.
game and then you'll send me alimony? Yes. Please
Oh
adopt me.
no! What did I do?
Amazing idea.
I'm really
Uh,
terrible at negotiating. Can you
yeah,
tell?
yeah, this went really well.
I, Sam, I want the car. It's about
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
You've
Fauci,
neglected me for most of my life.
Fauci,
All right,
listen. We
all
will
right.
give you. We will get you a car as soon as your feet can reach the pedals.
Oh no!
Okay.
Oh no! That's
It's a car, not a bike. They have buttons on the steering wheels
Yeah.
nowadays.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Bikes are got really fancy. They got
yeah.
really
Okay.
fancy.
They
I don't
did
know.
That's a very Dutch thing to say, Ronan.
You're seeing like smart bikes nowadays that like unlock with fingerprints and have like GPS in them, and I'm watching them like, how does that not get stolen? Like it's a rite of passage in the Netherlands. Your bike gets stolen.
Yep.
It's just a thing. You grow up, your bike gets stolen.
Yep.
You drive around with a $3,000 bike. I'm like, how is that? How do you still own that? It's wild.
It's kind of impressive, like the that bike theft is such a common thing that the expensive bike business
Yeah.
is struggling. Like
No,
nobody can ever justify buying an
when I
expensive
was a
bike.
kid, Fawzi, my bike got stolen from my high school. And so
Wow,
as I was walking home, a guy tried to sell me my bike.
wow!
wow.
And I bought it.
Wow!
So what
It was
was
a
I
good,
gonna do?
the price was too good.
It was like 25 guilders or something, and it was clear that it was stolen from the thing.
No.
I didn't want to like cause a situation, so I was like, "Here's 25 guilders, I'll take the bike."
If I was you, I'd be like, I'll give you 5.
Yeah.
I've
I
had
tried
my
to
bike
haggle,
stolen.
haggle
Yeah,
my
of
way
course you
to
haggle.
to get the bike cheap for cheap.
I was a
I
little
had
too intimidated by the bike thief to haggle.
Fair.
my first bike ever, like the real bike, not tricycle bike, got stolen. I was so sad. But actually, in my adult life, at one point, I was riding a bike to the train station, then taking the train to work, and I had a really nice bike, and it didn't last a day. Literally, the first
Right.
day that I
I'm
shackled it to the train station, I came back and they broke the bike lock. And at that time, my father-in-law had his really old, rusty, like from the 1950s bike. I'm barely exaggerating. He's like, "Look, just take this one until you buy another bike." And I'm like, "Yeah, no one's gonna steal this one." And I went to the train station and I used a really cheap lock because I'm like, nobody's going to steal this one. Same day, I came back and they stole the 1950s bike.
Amazing.
I'm like, I
Amazing.
couldn't believe it. I had to buy like the most expensive bike lock. And I still
Right.
come back and I see like dents on it.
Yep.
They're trying and
Yeah, they're
they
trying.
failed. Yeah.
That's very Netherlands. You know, when you were telling that story, you were like, I had this bike when I was younger and it got stolen. And I was like, is this the part where you like flip it around and you went and stole some bikes? It's like,
No.
the bug was like such a beautiful,
No.
like sort of like hinge point. I'm like, here comes the opposite story.
No, what I really meant was, but that was at the end of
Yeah,
my
yeah.
bike losing
As
streak.
you continued, I was like, oh, this is not the story of Osama's epic bike heist. But
Sadly not. Sadly not. That story has not been written
nobody would ever suspect you of stealing a bike.
yet. Because I never steal a bike yet, Rami.
Yeah, no, exactly. So
Stop trying to convince me to do it.
it's a perfect crime, Osama.
Perfect
Never need
crime.
your bike, but
I have a bike. I'm glad.
Yeah.
And I live in a neighborhood now, at least, where if anyone steals the bike, we could know who it is. Like, they'd have to go really far away for me not to spot my own bike. So
yeah.
it's pretty safe.
Has anybody played some video games, watched some movies?
Yes.
I played a lot of video games.
Well, because
Same.
it's so long and the end of year conversations are coming up again. I mean, inshallah, we're doing a best of the year games kind of thing again.
Yeah, that's a must.
Try to stop me.
But given all that, let's talk about a few.
All right.
All right. I want to really talk about two that stood out for me over the past month.
Okay, let's do it.
I'll start with the first one. Have you guys played Cocoon?
Yes, I have.
Cocoon. I love this game. I think it's like, top 5 for me, for sure.
Right.
Incredible game.
Yeah. It's
so
very focused.
Very like it's so elegant in its design. It's a game designer's game. I'll tell you that much. Like
100%.
There's probably a lot of people that might like it, might not like it. If puzzle games is not your thing, you might not really be into it. But like, I think game designers would like gobble this game up.
Yeah.
This is like by the peeps that used to be part of Playdead. Like they made Limbo and Inside, and then the kind of like the two studio leads. I think they went different creative directions.
Yeah.
And these guys started their own company and they made this game. This is their debut game.
Yep.
So I have a slightly different opinion about Cocoon, if I can share.
Ooh,
okay.
You don't like it.
Y'all have I like it, but y'all have to forgive me for being contrarian. I actually think it's not a game designer's game. I think it's a game developer's game, and my reason for this, and again, opinion, please. Like,
I'm nodding.
I'm shaking my head.
It's how elegant and polished it is that is really impressive. But the honest truth is, I didn't feel clever when I solved most of the puzzles. That's one thing I felt like the puzzles were almost on rail. There's like one solution, and for the majority of them is, well, you had to do this.
Let me give a counterpoint.
Yes,
I don't think it's a puzzle game.
Okay.
I think a puzzle game requires, like you said, sort of like or maybe it is like a very like specific definition of puzzle, but this is more of a like the pieces have to go in the right place in the right order.
Yes.
More than a like there is a clever sort of thing that you need to figure out and sort of like latch onto. Like I agree with Osama. I never really had that moment of like, wow, I'm brilliant. But I had a lot of moments where I'm like, beautiful.
I agree.
Yeah, I had a lot of moments in which like, wow, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
The design itself.
Yeah. That's
I agree. It's so creative.
Yeah.
So many ways that you do things. I've just never seen them in any medium before. Like it really felt like, cause it's called Cocoon. So spoiler, it has to do with bugs and insects and, like in an alien type weird setting where technology works differently than ours. And I thought all of that was amazing. The world building was amazing. The transitions between things are amazing. The way they are able to design boss fights where you have almost no verbs and still it makes sense and it works without any tutorials where they just throw you in and you're able to, like when you said elegant, I absolutely agree. And I do feel this is a game dev's game. This is a game where if a game dev played it, it oozes from polish and intentionality. Uh,
Mhm.
so you're right. If you don't see it as a puzzle game, then I could see that as a puzzle game. If you do see it through that lens, I thought it was a little easy, a little
Right.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
I.
I can agree with that. I think like
Mhm.
the reason why I said it's a game designer's game, and I don't think a puzzle game. You're right. Like really
Right.
pays it justice. It's just because there's like as I really enjoy the craftsmanship of this game
Hmm.
Yeah,
as much
Hmm.
as I enjoy playing it. You know.
Yeah.
agreed.
And
Yeah.
there's many points in which, like, every time I arrive at the solution, or even like when the solution was obvious and I still go through the motions, I just like that
Yeah.
they did it. You
Yeah.
know,
Agreed.
like the how
So.
like it's very creative in how it's delivered. And like I don't want to spoil a lot of the concepts of the game, but there's a lot of inception in it, so it's
Yeah.
a world within a world kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
I.
uh, like that concept on its own is kind of like time travel. It's mind bending,
it
because
is.
Right.
it's a thing within a thing
Yeah.
that's within another thing, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And when you get into that layers of trying to visualize that in your head, it's it's captivating. And I think
Right.
that's what I admire about this game the most, because to get here, somebody had to go through that visualization process
Yeah.
to execute on it.
Agreed.
I actually think I sit right in the middle between the both of you. I agree with both of you. I think Osama's right in that it's not really like the puzzles aren't puzzles. They're things to follow. But I agree with Fawzi. It's a designer's game because at no point does following the thing fail for the player, right? Like it is
Sure.
expertly guided. It is expert, and like watching the hands of the designer sort of like nudge and poke and suggest and like point you in the right direction. It's subtle enough that I think the average player will never quite realize that they're not really solving puzzles as much as being guided through
Mhm.
obstacle courses. Um,
To be
and I
clear, I
kind of
still
love that.
think it's Game of the Year contender. I was not saying a bad thing about
Oh,
it.
right.
I
No, no, no.
was,
We
yeah.
understand. We
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
understand.
we
It's a very
understand.
specific nuance that you're
Yeah.
making that I think
uh,
me and
So-
Fauzi both understand, but it's good to
yeah.
talk through for people that are listening that might
Of
not
course.
understand the specific
Absolutely.
nuance.
Osama, this is not Twitter, it's fine.
Right. We might
What
have.
do you mean you hate it?
Yeah.
We're reasonable people here.
Right. All right. Next game. Cocoon. That was a good one.
Next game, that's
Osama,
the first
your
one.
turn.
Okay, I'll bring
Osama.
one up. I played a game called Chance of Sinar. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Chance of Sinar. Yeah. Chance of
Yes.
Sinar. Yeah.
I actually had a very similar opinion about Chance of Sinar than I did of Cocoon.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really polished game. I loved being in that world. Visually, it was appealing. Not as polished as Cocoon. Cocoon probably takes the cake for most polished indie game of the year,
Right.
like without a doubt. Um, the thing is, I haven't played a lot of the core mechanic of the game is learn a language and translate it, a fictional language, and translate it to solve puzzles. Um, for me, this was very novel. I know that there were other games that did it, and I've heard
Hmm.
from others that other games did it better. So I can only tell you my opinion based on my experience. I think I've only played maybe one other game that does this, so I don't have the like a reference point to compare it to others, like some people who are more critical of this game were. But as someone who it was introduced to this concept for the first time, I loved it. I loved it. I
Hmm.
went through, and it's basically there were different clues around of what certain symbols mean, and then you find the symbols elsewhere, and if you deduce what they mean correctly, you're able to solve the puzzle. The puzzles were not brute forceable, or at least not easily brute forceable. So you
Right.
really are incentivized to do the thing. And a little bit of a spoiler, but after a while, a new language is introduced, and you have to kind of start over. But everything, like the language, is different. It's structured differently. It's not just what are the new symbols. And I thought that was great. I haven't finished the game yet. I got pretty far
All right.
along, but
Cool.
but I'm thoroughly enjoying playing through Chance of Sonar. Have either of you played it?
Yeah.
I haven't yet, but I
It's
will.
very good. You would appreciate it,
Mm.
Fauzi.
I love learning languages, so
Right.
Yeah.
It's it's obviously these are fictional languages, but
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
they're it's
Not
I
real
w-
languages like Klingon or Elvish. These are completely fictional.
right. Yeah,
Just
these are made up.
yeah.
But I found the game really strong when it focused on what it did best, and not very pleasant when it tried to do other things.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
There
but
was friction there in some
Yeah,
ways. Yeah.
yeah, and not the good kind of friction
No. No.
sometimes.
No. No.
But I think when it does what it does best, it does it really, really well. And there are games that play with language and with learning language the way Chants of Sonar does. But I honestly found this a very coherent experience. And um, I know you're not at the end, but like I deeply appreciated sort of the ending of the game.
Oh, cool.
It resonated with me. It's also beautiful. I
It
think
is
it's really pretty.
gorgeous. It
Yeah,
is. Yeah. And so
cool.
is Cocoon. Like both those games are
Yeah.
really wow.
So, um, I played the new Alan Wake.
Oh, how is
Ooh.
it?
It is,
I'm hearing Game of the Year contender from so
yeah,
many people.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like until I played Alan Wake, I was fairly sure that it was going to be Baldur's Gate for me.
Hmm.
Ah, not
Um,
Vemba. Things have changed since
Yeah,
last.
Venba is mine.
right? Yeah. Okay. Femba is pretty high up, but like
Yeah.
when it comes to the AAA sort of category, right?
Yeah.
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 I was fairly sure that Baldur's Gate was going to be mine. Um, but after Alan Wake, I'm not sure. They're just completely different games, right?
Yeah.
But Alan Wake 2 is Remedy Games, which did Max Payne and Control and Quantum Break and
And
Alan
Alan
Wake.
Wake 1.
Yeah. Taking the best they've learned in each of those games and putting it all together into one thing. And it is just the most ridiculous, like, mind trip you'll ever play as a video game, I think.
Hmm.
It's a brave game. They step away from Alan for large parts of it. You play as a character called Saga for about half, maybe 60% of the game. Um, but what I loved about it is so it's this spiraling reality of like broken parts of people's psyche turned into like places. It's a mythical, broken nightmare reality where logic doesn't necessarily make sense. And somehow they managed to find ways of making this not just coherent narratively, but coherent with its own mechanics. And
Hmm.
that was something I did not expect. The way you do quest progression, the way they map quest progression for Saga, who is a FBI detective, is this detective board where completing a quest basically gives you a clue, and you put the clue on the detective board, and it connects it with like little red wires, and like she will deduce things based on that, and that'll give you new things to chase, and like it's this really coherent sort of way of playing with the structure of the game, and they also invert a lot of mechanics. They use mechanics against you. They mess with geometry. It's just this. It's a nightmare trip, and I've never played anything like it. It's gorgeous as well.
Hmm.
So deeply enjoyed it. It's a bit too horror for my tastes. I'm
Okay.
really bad with horror games.
Yeah, me too.
Um, Lots of little jump scares, lots of big jump scares, but
Hmm.
found it very worthwhile to play through the entire game.
So Rami,
Really loved it.
I played the first one, but it
Right.
was years ago.
hmm
Do I need to brush up on it to go into this game?
If all you remember from the first Alan Wake is that, and spoilers for Alan Wake 1 from the year 2000 or 2010, I think,
Yeah.
2010. Spoilers for Alan Wake, a 2010 video game. At the end of Alan Wake 1, Alan, who is a writer, finds himself trapped at the bottom of
Yeah.
a lake that has the supernatural power of making creative work come true. And an evil within that lake is manipulating Alan to write that power into reality at large,
Hmm.
effectively. And that's where we left off. The Remedy verse, or the Remedy connected universe, as they call it, moves at the same pace as reality. So by the time Alan Wake 2 starts, Alan has been at the bottom of that lake for about 13 years
Wow.
Wow.
because it's 2023, and they pick up the story from here. So, phenomenal game. It has some really high highs. Its deepest lows are when it's just a good video game,
Mhm.
right?
Wow.
So I just deeply enjoyed that game.
Wow,
Do
that's
you
high
recommend it
praise.
for someone like me who does not play horror games?
So it is a
Rami
horror.
doesn't play horror games.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like. I'm the kind of person who I have never played a Resident Evil game for more than 10 minutes.
yeah.
Right? Like I
I'm in the same boat. Like maybe not 10
never
minutes.
played.
I've tried a couple of a little bit longer, but really,
Like
yeah,
I can't deal with gore. I
me
can't
too.
deal with like jump scares. I can deal with any of that. Like Alan Wake is at its heart, what it is more of a thriller.
Okay,
But because this is sort of a darker time for Alan, there's a lot more overlap with horror. It opens with a little bit of gore, but
yeah,
that's if you play the opening like 15 minutes, it never gets gorier than that.
okay.
So
I have had exceptions of a few horror games that I was able to tough out. But I did try I never played Alan Wake 2, but I did try the original Alan Wake.
right,
And I played it for a couple hours, and it was terrifying for me. And
right,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay. But I tried playing it at night. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll try again someday in the morning, and it just never happened.
I played
But
it in bright daylight.
yeah, I think that's what. And I know that sounds weird. It's just for me, it's not a pleasant experience. It's
No,
a thing that it doesn't give me good feelings like it does to other people. It's like roller
right,
coasters. Some people love
yep,
them. Some people hate them. I don't hate them. I'm bored of roller coasters. I
right.
yawn on roller coasters. They do nothing for me. But like video games, I get immersed in them completely,
Right,
and so I am living this world. I tried to play Outlast, which was made by friends of mine in
right,
Montreal.
yep,
Yeah.
I played maybe the first 7 to 20 minutes like 15 times and each time the intention to actually play through it. And I'm like, and each time I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? So
right. Nope,
yeah,
nope,
yeah.
nope, nope, nope. Yep.
So I might still pass on Alan Wake 2, but you've made the best compelling argument to give it a try.
It is.
Yeah,
It is because it is narratively and in terms of game design, it's
yeah.
it's an achievement. It's truly an achievement.
Then I might buy it and play the first 7 to 20 minutes 15 times. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
cool.
Wish me luck.
It's my next game for sure.
Fauzi, what
Uh,
was your other game?
my other game is Super Mario Wonder.
Ooh,
I
Have
haven't
you
had a
guys
chance
played
yet.
this? You haven't had the
no,
chance yet.
me either.
Osama, have you?
No, it's
Tell me
on my
all about it,
list.
though.
Yeah.
Tell me all about it. It's a
Oh
Mario
man,
game. Like I don't feel like there's going to be spoilers, right?
there's not gonna there's not gonna be spoilers, but this is like a new height for like 2D Mario's, I believe.
Oh my
Huh.
gosh!
So like you
Wow.
got like the same people that made Super Mario World.
Right?
I think out of the 5 people that made that game, 4 of them worked on this one.
Wow!
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So it has all of that charm. It is. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm just kept on smiling to myself playing this game the entire time. It is so much fun. It
Huh.
is. It's very creative. Level design is really well put together, and it's yeah. I couldn't stop playing until I finished this game.
Wow!
They've redone so this is not like the new Super Mario Brothers art style.
Right?
Mhm.
It is close, but they've redone a lot of the animation. So it's kind of this is what I'm saying. Like it's like a new revamped style 2D Mario.
Hmm.
Have you played it
Uh,
co-op?
I did not.
Okay.
In fact, yeah, I heard it gets a lot of fun actually in co-op. It's up
So
to
I heard
4
mixed things about co-op. That's why I
players.
wanted to get your opinion about it.
I
Um,
only played it by myself
yeah.
while I
So
was traveling, on my Switch.
Nice.
okay.
Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. There are there's I felt like there were some things that reminded me a lot of Rayman Legends. If you guys played that back
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
day,
love
like in
that series. Love it.
In Rayman Legends, there was like a bunch of like those musical levels in which like the music is playing and then there's characters in the level that are like reacting or singing along with the track.
Yep.
There's a bunch of stuff like that in Mario Wonder.
Oh, I love
and
it.
there's a lot of like when you get the Wonder Seed in these levels, um, there's a bunch of times in which like the level turns into a bizarro world of some kind. So it
Mhm.
kind of like messes with your expectations of what this world is going to be. Sometimes like piranha
I'm
plants start singing.
I'm so
Sometimes
sorry. that description could have like just directly applied to Alan Wake, and my brain
Wait,
just went
what?
like, well, it's like the world sometimes turns into this bizarre world where nothing makes sense, and I'm like, wait, are we still talking about Alan Wake? And my brain had to do a double take. I'm so sorry. I just had to laugh for a second.
No, it's a lot of sense. It's like I don't know if that applies to Alan Wake, but it feels like when Mario takes a mushroom in this game. It's not it's not just the mushroom that helps Mario grow.
Oh no!
Like in some levels the piranha plants some start singing. Some levels just the world turns pitch black and you only see like Mario's eyeballs and you try to navigate the level.
Oh wow.
uh in some points the level remains it's 2D self, but the
Mm,
backdrop becomes a top-down view of Mario walking around in it
mm,
instead.
mm,
Oh,
uh,
clever.
so many smart things, beautiful level design, charm. uh, there's a moment, it's in the trailer, so I'm not gonna spoil it to you. That's why I'm gonna say it, but it still got me every time. Like there's flowers in the levels, and those flowers they speak with full
mm.
voiceover.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
And like the level starts, and there's a Goomba that's snoozing, and you take the new power up, which turns Mario or any character you play into an elephant version of themselves. And the action button in the elephant form, just with your trunk, you can just smack enemies away. So you take the power up and you turn into an elephant, and the flower starts saying, "Oh, this Goomba looks so serene." And a second later, I just smacked the Goomba off the screen, and the flower says, "Oh well." So the flowers they're placed in like really smart locations in the level,
Wow.
and they would react to what you're most likely going to do.
Yeah.
I
And that
love that.
gets
That's
me.
so
It
clever.
gets me every time. It's so smart. It's so
That's so
smart. It's so
clever.
funny.
I
It's
can't wait
on my
to play it. It
yeah,
is
same.
it's on my very long list of games I bought and haven't
Yep.
started. It
Yep.
doesn't make sense anymore. I'm more of a game collector than I am a player, and I play a lot of games. It's just
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Like I'm
yeah,
way behind. I
yeah,
think I played like 5 hours of Baldur's Gate, and then I was like, I need to come back to this
yeah.
Right. Right.
I
because if I
played
start playing this, I'm not gonna play anything else.
I played 13 and I loved it. Why am I not playing it again? It's just other things keep coming out and distracting me. I played maybe 10 hours of Assassin's Creed. I played maybe 15
Mhm.
hours of Spider-Man 2. And I'm going to do that the Inception thing like that I always do every year, and I'm going to finish eventually. Games are going to stop coming out. I'm going to go back and finish the ones that I started before in reverse order. That's going to happen.
Mhm.
But this year, I mean, everyone's saying the same thing. This year was a great year for games, a terrible year for game devs. Uh,
Yeah,
that's real. Lots of really good games
Yeah.
came out this
that's
year.
a
Yeah.
good way to place it. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yep.
so Mario Wonder just came out of nowhere from like I expected it to be a good game,
Yeah.
Right.
but it's a magnificent game.
Wow. That's
Very
amazing.
Yeah,
excited.
it's
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 yeah,
really really good.
If
very
you do
excited.
end up trying it in co-op, I'd love to hear your opinion about it. I had
Yeah, yeah. You know
people
what?
said
Maybe I'll.
mixed things, and like I can't. I'm gonna try it for myself as well, but I'm very curious to see how it could be so polarizing in co-op and not polarizing in single player. I'm very interested in that.
I'll have two gaming groups today and tomorrow, so maybe I'll have some guinea pigs to try this out
That's
with.
that's amazing. That's a good number of gaming groups in 2 days.
Osama, anything else on your end?
Yes. How am I gonna pick? I've played a bunch of games. Played Spider-Man 2. I could talk about that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
let's talk about Spider Man. It's
Yeah,
great.
and you know how big of a Marvel, that universe fan I am. So again, they made this game for me, and everyone else gets to enjoy it. It's absolutely amazing in so many ways. But as with everything that I love, I have critiques.
Thoughts.
So there's Spider-Man 2018 that came out, and then there's Spider-Man Miles Morales that came out after that. Dates I can't follow. Loved them both. Really good game. One follow up with the other. Spider-Man 2 builds on that. It builds on the good, and sadly, it also builds on the bad.
Mm.
Overall, it's an amazing experience. Uh, but there's so much backstory from those games at this point that if you're starting off here, I could only imagine that you'll be lost. And I don't think they do a good job to ramp up other people. I think they're assuming that everyone else has played the other games, and I have played the other games, so I didn't have that problem. But like really, at some points, I was watching for this. I'm like, oh, how are they going to cover this cleverly? Oh, they're not. They're just going to assume you know, while Miles has very strong feelings against this character, that for the first 15 minutes that the character's on screen, no one has said their name yet. So you can't even be like, who is
Right.
this? Let me Google it. They're just like those kind of moments kind of took me by surprise. The second is, I don't know if you remember the Mary Jane stealth missions from the first game.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, in my
There's
opinion,
more of
the
those in
worst
this
parts of the
one.
game, right?
yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Fawzi, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're saying?
No, no, I was saying there's more of them in this one as well, I think.
Yes. So I love stealth games. I actually do. I don't like stealth missions that are tacked on, that are just very, I'm sorry to say it in this way, but feel low effort. Like, you have to walk this sequence with very little action that you could do with very little feedback, or you fail and have to start at the beginning. Is not a fun experience for me. This might be a subjective things, but overall, they were the least like I've seen the feedback in the comments. They were vocally, at least, the least popular parts of the first game, and then they made it back in Miles Morales a little bit, and I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to phase them out, and now they're back and there's more of them, and there's a lot of exposition narrative missions that are similar to that, minus the fail states. So
Okay.
you just, I'm going to tell you a story. Just walk around with me and let me show you this really gorgeous, usually, environment with these really well voice acted sequences. That's not why I play these games. And I felt the pacing was off. The slow moments were too slow for a high octane adrenaline, best traversal in video games ever type of game. Uh, I felt there were too many. I have ADHD. Maybe it's a me thing. If y'all have played it and have a different opinion about that, that's fine. But like, that is a thing I felt, was a little jerky. Like,
No, you know
yeah.
what? It's valid criticism. Like now that you've mentioned it,
Yeah.
I didn't mind it as much as you did because I was heavily invested in the story.
Mhm.
I really liked what they were telling. So like I didn't mind walking through those like those set pieces. I need to just look around a place,
Mhm.
or stealth through a location so I can hear the exposition. But definitely, as you're talking, I recognize that I couldn't wait until I got
Yes.
to be Spider-Man again,
Yeah. And
or be
that's
back into the open world. And I would get the phone call,
exactly.
go like, Spider-Man, let's go back to the mission. Like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of like really enjoying being in the city right now, and I don't want to
It's
go back
exactly
into
it.
another one of those. So I
Exactly it.
think it's a fair point.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, I don't think they should be gone completely. I just felt they occupied too much space. Like, it made for a more sluggish pacing. My last criticism, and this is a hard one to solve as a game designer, I know it's a hard one to solve. It's we already had games. We already had full skill trees. We already gave you a bunch of abilities. What do we do now? Now that we're doing this game again, and you're Miles Morales and Spider Man, Peter Parker again, and you're coming back with these full skill trees and abilities, we're going to give you more. And the question at the end is, there's no easy solve for this. And I felt that their solution wasn't the best. I don't think there's an easy solution either way. But their solution was, yeah, we will give you more. Lots more in every direction.
Right.
Now you can choose a different animated ability that has the same function, and in some cases, just, a slightly different function. And you could choose between the two, but you don't have any, like, it's not a lock and key situation where it's like, oh, this will help me in this situation. It's more like, oh, this just does a different thing, I guess. And you're reading through the description, you're like, I don't know how this is functionally different than the other thing. And
Yeah.
you keep unlocking these things in this giant skill tree across two characters that does a bunch of similar things slightly differently. And it's overwhelming to me. And I'm studying it to try to, like, figure out, how they're going to solve this problem. That was an issue. And the second issue is they added other abilities that, like, took away from what made the game special. Like, now you get to glide, like, you get little webbing on your armpits, and you could, like, glide around. And that's not the player fantasy for Spider-Man at all. And it doesn't feel as good as regular traversal. And it's optional. I get it, except for the one situation at the beginning of the game where you have to do it, I guess, and maybe a couple more, and I can't remember if they were side missions or not that you have to do it. In most part, it's optional, but it also shares an input with something that isn't optional that I sometimes want to do. So it comes out randomly, and it's never a thing that I like doing. So, and that's a tough problem. We know it's a tough problem to solve. How do you, a lot of games reset you, right? They do something or change
Right.
protagonists so that you can start over. It's not an easy problem to solve. What I would have preferred is, hey, you have kind of the same things. You could maybe upgrade them a little bit, but mostly we're introducing new challenges, and now you have to use the old gear that you have creatively with these new, challenges. Something like that I would have preferred. This was overload of new, and
Right.
it's fine. I was able to ignore it and move on. But like again, I only criticize the things I love more. Right?
Right.
That's just how it works. I loved it, and I thought it was kind of off the mark in these three ways.
Right.
I think like for your criticism is absolutely valid, but I can also understand it from the team's perspective because
Yeah,
what do you do? Like
I
if
agree.
this is the first game, like people heard about how good the first Spider-Man is and how good Miles Morales is, but they never got to play them. They're like, all right, I'm going to get into this one. Then assuming that you're carrying everything forward and not have them progress into building a character is gonna be information overload.
Yeah,
Right.
The player will be completely overwhelmed with all the skills being unlocked to them
Right.
at first, and I would argue that even with the progression that they're giving to unlock things to drip feed even some of these things to the player, there's still way more information given to the player in this game than in any other game, just because of
agreed.
it's two games worth of controls
Yeah,
to teach the player, and uh, I like that they did the. A progression that is for both Spider-Man at the same time.
hmm
Because this is like, what's different about this one. Like, you play as both of them together and you
hmm
can swap between them at any point. And there's a separate progression tree that is made for that can work for both and either.
I
Yeah.
love that. That was good.
That's a really interesting approach to this. So, like, if even if you played the previous games, you're like, oh, so you're doing the progression here differently.
hmm
And they do that with the suits as well, in which, like, in the suits, you're unlocking like the different Spider-Man suits. They knew that this is the thing that people like,
hmm
or one of the carrots that people like chasing, and they really invested into making it a progression system
Yeah, agreed.
that keeps you engaged, not only in unlocking it, but also unlocking the different variations of colors for the suits. Uh,
Agreed.
yeah,
No,
valid
again,
criticism,
yeah,
valid criticism. But
light criticism. This is more of a interesting choices in some ways. No one's going to get everything perfect. That just doesn't happen. And in many cases, I don't even have a suggestion. I was waiting to see how they solve these problems that I expected to happen. So again, like, criticism, not hate. I hope that part is clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it is clear. It's not the Twitter.
Again,
Again,
thankfully.
no, I do. And also, like, I think all of the points that you've singled are valid. But as a person who played all the previous Spider-Man games,
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed playing this one
Me too.
as well. I haven't finished it yet. I think I'm around the same uh, part as you are, 10,
Yeah.
15 hours.
Yeah. About 15
Uh,
hours.
what I like about this game the most, like ultimately, outside of the designer in me, as a player, I have a hard time putting the controller down.
Yes.
Right.
And there's very few games that I played this year that are like that.
Agreed.
So with all of the faults, ultimately, like, I never get bored playing this game. And in fact, like, the moments in which they deliberately slow you down stand out as a sore thumb just because of how fun everything else is,
Agreed.
you know?
Agreed.
Um, also, I also want to give a shout out for the game technically. Uh,
Yeah. It's
every
something
Spider-Man has
else.
always been a technical marvel to me,
Mhm.
but they somehow even managed to outdo themselves with this one. I don't know if you noticed that, Osama, while you're playing. You must have. When you're and you're in the menu looking at doing fast travel, you know, you
Mhm.
pick a place on the map, and then the camera zooms into the HUD map directly
Yeah.
into the game world,
Yes.
seamlessly into Spider-Man swinging. Or when you're
How?
swinging, or when you're swinging between the two, switching between the two Spider-Man, it is
Yeah.
completely seamless, as if the entire world is already loaded.
That is impressive. I did notice it. I have one question. Am I
Hmm.
imagining that GTA 5 did this too? I vaguely remember. I remember
It's not
asking
as
myself,
seamless.
it's not, it's not, definitely. But this was like 10 years
Yeah,
ago or 12 years
yeah,
ago or
yeah,
Right.
something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
I think they did that, but better. But I
Yes,
can't remember. GTA 5 was so long ago, but that's what I remember switching between
you're right.
characters.
Switching between characters happen. It used to, like,
Right.
go all the way to the top and then go all the way back down to the character. But I
Yeah,
think also in this one is it's not just how seamless it is in mid action. Like
no,
you get
it's how,
seamlessly, no frame drops, nothing loading in.
it's how
You know,
smooth the whole experience is, where if
super
you don't pay
smooth.
attention, you don't even notice that it's
Exactly.
happening.
And
Yeah,
that
I
comes
agree.
even from within menus. So like in
Yes.
GTA, when you were like loading from one area to, there were regions. So if you're
Mm-mm.
going to
Exactly.
another region, that area needs to be loaded in, right? But
Yep.
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
this one, regardless of where the two Spider-Men are,
Yeah.
it's just seamless transition the entire time. And I was playing, I play it on performance mode. So I
Me too.
was optimizing frame rate
Mhm.
and over graphics.
For
And for
these
me,
for
like,
these kind of games, I always optimize frame rate.
right?
It
Like
just
for
makes more
combat
sense.
and all of that stuff. Like
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind like losing a bit of HDR for like really getting a smooth gameplay
I
experience. And
agree. Exactly.
the seamlessness and transition between two characters from menus, all of that stuff is just mind-boggling for me. Very impressive.
Absolutely. Rami, did you play it at all?
Nope.
Oh,
It's on my to-do list.
yeah.
It's because I just started on Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
I
Ooh.
made a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
It's
that game is
This
like 100-hour game. That's
yep.
minimum.
yeah,
No,
minimum
it's
exactly.
it's wild. I am 70 hours in, and I think I'm like finishing the second act of the game right now.
I expect to finish
Wow.
that game in 2026.
Oh yeah, no, but Osama, this the thing about Baldur's Gate is this is not a it's not a game. It's like a game platform.
I know
It's like there are like 70 games sitting in there.
it
It is
is.
completely ridiculous.
It is really impressive.
It
I have an opinion about it. If you want to hear, I'm sorry,
yeah,
very
for
opinionated
sure.
today. Love the game. I think it is the best D and
Great
D
opinion. Love that.
video game that has ever been made, and I
Here comes the
loved
butt.
the first. Yeah, there's a but. I love the first Baldur's Gate. I love the second Baldur's Gate, and this
Right.
one up those, and that shocked me already. I could not believe that
Mhm.
I'm saying this.
Cool. You
I
can stop here, Sam.
Yeah,
no,
this is a
no.
great this is
One
a
more
great point.
thing. One more thing.
This is the worst. This is the worst Apple showcase I've ever heard in terms of one more thing. All right,
So,
go.
okay. What I feel, ironically, is that what's holding it back is the D and D license. I actually think it's
Really?
the best D and D game ever, but some of the things that come with D and D make it a slightly worse game. As an example, I picked a sorcerer, and when I leveled up to level 3, I had analysis paralysis because I had to read
Right.
through 20 spells,
Yeah.
and some were slightly different. They're like, this is a d6, a 2d6, but it's poison damage, and this one is a 2d6, but it's a different range, and it's like
Yeah.
this kind of. And I'm like, I have no idea what's coming.
Right.
How am I even gonna pick from these
Right.
things? But it's because they wanted to stay true to D&D, and that was the right choice. So it is not a
Right.
criticism of the dev team. It's more of a, well, that's what happens when you want to make the
Right.
best D&D game ever, right?
I will say I would normally very much be that person, but I think what is most impressive about Baldur's Gate 3 for me is that it is really good at sort of like guiding you into roleplay.
Yep.
Even if you're not a roleplay kind of person, like I am 100% not even joking. The average game I play, if I get to create a character, I create me,
Hmm.
right? I just create Rami.
Hmm.
And it's a mostly Paragon kind of character, mostly a good guy, but like will occasionally take like a bit of a like tougher action when he's like, well, this is out of line,
You'll punch
right?
a reporter once in a
I,
while.
like I actually didn't do that, but I'm too much of a good guy sometimes.
No.
But
You just punch
you know,
Elijah Wood, that's all, not reporters.
yes,
Right?
yes, this is true. But I remember when I played the Mass Effect series the first time, I got a very specific outcome. When I played it again 15 years later, I got the exact same outcome.
Mm.
Because I think my morality has stayed fairly like stable over the past 15 years. The thing that really stands out to me about Baldur's Gate is that at some point I'm still me, but like this is definitely its own character, right? It's a paladin. He's a good guy. He's trying to do like he's trying to help people around the world, but like the way the character is evolving is very much in line with sort of the world around it. And Baldur's Gate just does a really good job of sort of like moving you into that. On top of that, I think what really was impressive to me is just the way they deal with good and bad outcomes.
Yep.
Right. So you play the game, you come across a guy who will literally say he'll stab you in the eyeball to help you with something.
Mhm.
And you're obviously going to say no, but I know somebody who said yes, and they got their eye pulled out, which I thought was going to give a debuff. But instead, the guy panicked and gave her a magic eyeball
Hmm.
that allows her to see invisible enemies.
That is cool.
So no matter how you mess up things, whether your roll fails, whether your roll succeeds, they have made paths that give every sort of permutation of the story
Yeah.
positives and negatives.
Yeah.
And the amount of stuff there is, the stories I'm hearing from other people who are playing this game, they're not playing the same game as
They're
me.
not. That's absolutely true.
It's not like a choose your own adventure game. This is like a choose your own video game.
Yeah.
It is bonkers.
I heard about this entire encounter, a big one that I skipped because of the race I picked in my character creation. And like, not just skipped, but there's an alternative thing that I did that anyone who didn't pick this race didn't do. And I'm like, this brings me back to Arcanum. Like that is, before this was my favorite RPG. Like it was so good. I can't wait to play more Baldur's Gate to see what else they do. But I agree with you. Absolutely. All of those roll a 20, roll a 1, and a different thing will happen. That is impressive. That is impressive.
And your class, your race, your background, your the spells you have available, your stats, like all of it is elegant, all of it is relevant, all of it matters, all of it plays into what you're going to experience. Every space is meant to be interesting to every possible way. Like I have never seen anything like it.
I agree.
It is a bonkers achievement of game development. This game should not exist, cannot exist. I have no idea how it does exist. It is.
I'd like to see planning docs. Like, how do you plan for this?
Yeah, you get a team of 30 people that have done this exact game 10 times in a row.
I guess.
And then they plan it because they know what they're going to run into, which is apparently exactly what Larian did.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just what a video game.
You guys, I think we spoke about this in the podcast, but remind me, because I was replaying Divinity at some point. I think we were talking about that on the podcast maybe a couple of years ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But Rami, you played Divinity 2 before?
Yeah,
you played a lot of that. And so did you.
Yes, I played it 4 players too.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, like I started playing Baldur's Gate. I knew exactly what this game is.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly into it, and I was like, okay, this is going to be my all-winter game.
Yep.
I want to finish all those 20-hour plus games first,
right?
and then get back to that. So I want to finish Spider-Man, Alan Wake, and then I'm gonna just play this until the end of the year, I think.
Yep. There's still some good indie games we need to talk about, but that's not going to be this time because.
No, but I have many.
There are so many games to talk about. Maybe there's movies to talk about. Maybe there's other stuff to talk about. But
maybe.
I'm glad we just managed to get an episode in.
Yeah. And the next one, the 104, coming in 100 episodes from now. It'll happen. Yes. Inshallah.
Inshallah, a little bit faster than this. Inshallah. I think we all need to look at our schedules and figure out where the elusive overlap is.
Yes.
Because I've really missed catching up.
I have.
Like
Likewise.
it's a little different getting to speak once every 2 months versus once every week.
Agreed.
So, well, I think. Oh God, the outro. What was the outro? The outro. There was an outro.
Was there?
There was an outro. Yeah, there
Something
was an
about
outro.
emails and Discord.
There's
Oh
something,
yeah. It was the Osama section. It was the Osama section. Well, with
All
that, then,
sections are Osama sections.
Oh, no.
Aw.
I'm the host now.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, Osama,
No, it was a joke.
run
It
us
was a
out.
joke.
Run us out. You rolled a D1 on this one. Go
We
for
don't
it.
damn
joke
it.
on this podcast.
I don't have a script. Well, how do I say this? Yes, we love you. Come to our Discord. Send us emails at info@thehabibis and we'll read them, inshallah, the next time. Did I forget something? I think that's it, right?
The Discord is discord.thehabibis.com.
Yes, it is Discord at Discord. Dot. There are ats and dots, but it's Discord habibis.com. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining us this week. I think I did pretty well. What do you guys think?
It's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
That was
My best outro yet. It doesn't say much.
Nope, it's perfect.
Salam.
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 That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I'm Osama Dorias, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Osama Dorias. My fellow Habibis were Rami Ismail, you can find on Twitter at THA_Rami, and Fawzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fawzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service, or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and Assalamu alaikum.